Senator Whitehouse, you promised us it would get worse. It has gotten worse. Does it feel good to be right about these predictions?
No, I wish it did. And I wish I felt this was the bottom of it. I think it's going to continue to get still worse. There's more to disclose about Clarence Thomas. This coming week, Justice Thomas and Justice Alito run out the clock on the extensions for their disclosures. So they have to make those disclosures next week. And there's a 30-day window in which they become public. So we'll find out a lot more from them about their own disclosures, and people will be picking at what they've disclosed and what the press has found out to make sure that they're telling the truth. We may find out new things from their own disclosures as they fear that those things will become exposed in later investigative efforts. And then we're only really beginning to understand how very improper Justice Alito's interview in the Wall Street Journal was. That was deeply improper. And that's going to come out more. So the other Supreme Court justices and the judges on the Judicial Conference need to understand that this is not going away. It's going to continue to get worse because the behavior is inexcusable of their colleagues.
So we keep coming up against no guardrails here. And so just to go back to your point where there is theoretically a deadline that they have to meet for disclosure forms. What if Clarence Thomas just doesn't meet the deadline? I think he believes that nothing can happen to him.
Yeah, I think the problem that he's going to face there is that the Financial Disclosure Committee of the Judicial Conference has those rules. And that's also the group that's going to advise the Judicial Conference on whether or not his failure to file is willful. And if there's a question whether his failure to file is willful, that question is referred to the Attorney General of the United States for a proper investigation. So if you're Clarence Thomas and you are refusing to meet a deadline, you are telling the people who have the position and the power to refer you to the Attorney General of the United States for investigation. I'm blowing you off, pals. That is not a good place to be in because that power of referral to the Attorney General is a power conferred on the Judicial Conference by law.
Okay, so that does feel like something that even Clarence Thomas would be concerned about, the idea that the Justice Department would then be conducting a potentially criminal investigation of him. I do suspect that he would still feel immune from the ultimate effects of such an investigation. But that seems to be the only possible pressure on him.
Well, the Judicial Conference can investigate these matters, and they can amend the rules and tighten things up for the Supreme Court. I frankly hope they will. And they can require more disclosure. But I think a lot of this is going to be on you and me collectively, the press and the Congress, to keep digging to the bottom of this. Because what the Supreme Court justices have told the rest of the world is, we have no rules, we do not care, we will not answer your questions, you can basically go pound sand. And there's no other position in government where you get to do that. Not other judges, not legislators, not members of the executive branch, not town council members in small towns in counties around the country. You just don't get to behave that way as a government official. So the extent to which they're out of line is going to come to haunt them before too long, and we're going to dig to the bottom of it. This is not going to end.
Is it your sense that there is any pressure at all on Clarence Thomas from inside the Supreme Court?
I'm not sure about that. I think that there likely is beginning to be pressure within the Supreme Court. I am confident that there is pressure from within the Judicial Conference. Those judges are the chief judges of all the different circuit courts of appeal and selected district court chief judges, very powerful and august group, and they have to follow the rules. They know perfectly well what the rules are, and they know that the Supreme Court justices are cheating. They know perfectly well that the excuses that are being made make no sense, are not correct. And they also resent that by treating the misbehavior of the Supreme Court justices as legitimate, they impute to the rest of the judiciary that they might be doing the same thing. So I think the pressure is building within the Judicial Conference to take the necessary steps against these relatively rogue Supreme Court justices.